So I'm Natasha Murphy. You might know me from about 20 minutes ago when I appeared in the MailChimp presentation. That was me, in case you're scratching your head and thinking, where have I seen this girl before? So I run a company called Nicely Built. We're also headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know if there are any other Atlanta people here today. Couple. So we primarily work with Shopify and WordPress. I started the company in 2012 after I had spent a few years working as a developer for an agency. And I became disgruntled because clients were choosing their own platforms. And I was not happy with the platforms they were choosing, to say the least. We won't name names, but I saw clients spending tens of thousands of dollars, having 6 months to year lead times to build these just very overwrought, complex websites that at the end of the day didn't really serve them and didn't serve their end users either. So I was just kind of like, get me out of here. I knew that there were other platforms on the market, and I really kind of wanted to work with those leaner platforms. So I started Nicely Built in 2012. Shortly after that, I built my first Shopify store. It was for a children's store based in Georgia. They're still on Shopify. They now have 2 brick and mortar locations, and they use Shopify POS. So, I mean, to me, that's pretty incredible. Like 4 years later, a store still being on the same platform. People just tend to change so quickly, but they've really grown with the platform. It's been pretty amazing to see my first client grow. I built that store, and then quickly, I think I just got lucky, but I built a few more right after that, and similar to Kurt, I received an email from Dan Evely, he was just kind of like, hey, do you want to be listed as a Shopify expert? And I was kind of like, sure, why not? So in 2013, I officially joined the experts program and just kind of decided that all I wanted to do was Shopify. We still do some WordPress, but that's only because some of our clients are not e-commerce. And nowadays, we are a team of 7, so it's changed quite a lot since that first store. So since 2013, we've built a lot of stores, gotten a lot of referrals, gotten a lot of just inquiries, just kind of off the street from the experts directory. So a lot of those initial inquiries, they turn into paying projects, but a lot of them don't. I would say most of them don't. We get all sorts of inquiries, as I'm sure you guys do. Some people are just kind of like, literally like, I need a website, how much? Probably my favorite one I've ever gotten, though, was from a 14-year-old girl who kind of I think she was just kind of writing in, and I wrote her back and was kind of like, hey, but she wanted to build, in her words, an e-commerce empire to support her family, which I thought was really cool, and I actually exchanged some emails, and I think that was my favorite just message I ever received through the portal. So qualifying these leads has just become more challenging over time. A couple years ago, we were getting maybe 1 or 2 leads a week, which was something I could handle personally. I'm a firm believer that as the owner of your company, you should really kind of handle the sales yourself, because no one knows your product as well as you do. I've toyed around with kind of giving the biz dev to one of my team members, but the results are just never as good. So we've definitely graduated from the 1 to 2 messages a week. We're now at about 10 to 15. And so that's a combination of both the experts directory and then inquiries that we get through our website. So it's too much for me to keep up with. I've tried. so just kind of in the craziness of trying to manage this communication, I think there's been a couple of times where I've actually sent the wrong proposal, to a different client. So a proposal for one store to another merchant. That was really embarrassing. Oftentimes the communication just drops though. I mean, it's just a ton to try to keep track of. And for a while there, we were failing pretty miserably. So we tried a couple of different options. We really tried to use some of the bigger contact relationship managers. We tried Salesforce, which was way more than we needed and also way expensive. We weren't there yet. We don't have a dedicated sales team. We don't even have a dedicated salesperson. So it was just kind of too much for us. And so from there, we started to use Insightly. And even that just required so much of our time to enter in the information, to tag it, to try to just assign a team member to be on top of that. It was also just not a very good solution. It wasn't working for us. So we ultimately abandoned the CRM approach or anything that was just kind of a CRM. And I'm sure that these are both great solutions, and I know people that have had great success, but so by no means am I, trying to say that these are not great products, because they are. They just didn't work for us when at the time that we needed them. So, yeah, it got really bad. We were just dropping communication. Probably just another kind of anecdotal story to let you know how bad it got. We run one of our Instagram hashtags that we use for marketing purposes is nicely built dream client. And so we'll go out, we'll find brands that don't have a responsive website or just don't have a very good website, and we'll start flirting with them on Instagram. And it rarely works. I think it should work better than it does. But we actually had a client reach out that says, hey, you were talking to me on Instagram, and we do need a new site. We're currently on WooCommerce, and we'd like to move over. And I was like, this is excellent. And the communication, I didn't move fast enough. I had so many other things on my plate, and was trying to kind of manage so many threads of communication that a week passed before I got her the proposal. And when I finally got it to her, she said, well, I really wanted to work with you, but I've already hired someone else. And I was just kind of like, wah, wah. The one time the nicely built dream client hashtag worked, and we missed out because I was not handling these sales inquiries as efficiently as I could. So that was pretty sad. So we had already kind of there were other areas of the business that we were struggling with. Time tracking was a really big one. We were able to solve that with a product called Hubstaff. We moved into a system called Proposify for our proposals and really started using a templated approach. So me and my teammates, we really started to think about this and figure out how we could solve it. The CRM approach didn't work, but there had to be something out there that would kind of alleviate just the time and energy that was going into answering all of these calls. So we decided to set up an automated sales funnel. And in order to do this, we used a service called ActiveCampaign. There's lots of different services out there, but this is the one that we found and the one that works best for us. So with ActiveCampaign, what we were able to do was set up a sales funnel. So at the very top, this would be basically anyone in the whole entire world that would want to talk to us, they go into the top of the funnel. So that's generally would be the first contact. So this includes people that send us a message through the website or people that reach out via the Shopify Experts portal. We put them into the active campaign system. We have just one simple automation set up. We put their names in there, and it triggers an email that requests a phone call meeting so that we can go over our services and get a really general idea of what they need. We found that collecting less information up front actually worked in our favor. For a while, we used this really complicated form that was like, what platform are you coming from? What's your budget? All of these different questions to try to collect this information up front so that we could route it to the appropriate team member. Our logic being that myself and my other senior teammate could handle anything over 10K, and we could give anything below that to someone else on the team. But what ended up happening is people just wouldn't fill it out, and they would just send us an email. So it just wasn't working. So now we just kind of get their name, their website, and a really short message. So our funnel is really small. If you're kind of new to sales automation, this will probably be good for you. Like, I'm sure that there's probably some advanced users out in the audience shaking their heads like you probably got it figured out a little more. That's okay. So that initial call, just an overview of our services. Again, we generally try to use that first call to just figure out what it is the person wants, because we get so many different types of inquiries. So when we add the email to ActiveCampaign, it sends out an email that says, hey, when can you talk? In the meantime, here's our website. Go check out our blog and our portfolio. Because a high percentage of our inquiries are coming from the Shopify Experts directory, we found that some people had never even been to our website. So we felt it was really important to make sure that they went there so they could both see the type of work we do, as well as get a feel for us, because we're not the best fit for everyone, and that's okay. But we really kind of wanted to encourage people to at least go check us out before that first phone call. So we just kind of included that in that first email. So basically, again, anyone who wants to talk to us can get on an initial call. And the first call is not something that I myself or even our BizDev person will handle. It's something that we give to our client representative. And during that call, she's tasked with kind of figuring out what it is they want. So she's just kind of figuring out what they want, sorry. If after that first call, we deem it something that we could do, that we could help with, then we'll schedule a second follow-up call with either me or our biz dev person to get requirements from them. So that's when we really have the technical conversation. We find out, if they want a Shopify website, are we going to be migrating the store? Are we going to need to what integration points are there going to be? And we just kind of find out all of this information so that we can put together a proposal. So kind of going back to and I'm sure, are you guys in the Shopify Experts directory? Can I see a show of hands, if you're in the directory? Okay, so you guys I'm assuming you're probably receiving these emails that are how much? We were getting a lot of those. And so we started with this third call. When it comes time to really kind of show our proposal, we tried to put it in place for the second call, but it didn't work. But definitely for the third part of the funnel, we'll actually go over the proposal via Skype or Google Hangout. So we won't actually send it to the client. We'll show it to them via a screen share, which has been interesting. But also, it makes sure that they have a really hard time just ignoring us, but we'll talk more about that in a second. So we really wanted to address some pain points that we were experiencing during this sales process we set up. So the first thing was clients that are simply not a good fit. We've had some choice clients that that just weren't the best fit for us. And I think that we definitely saw it coming, but didn't do a very good job of kind of being firm and saying, like, I don't think that we would be the best fit. Like, it's getting easier and easier to do that. So we created a go, no-go list. And this is something that during that first call, our client representative, I've talked to her, she's been trained to kind of like be on the lookout for some trouble signs. So there are 3 things that we really kind of like that we're on the lookout for. The first thing is if they're rude. We get a surprising number, well, not a surprising number, but we do get occasional inquiries from people that are just like straight up kind of mean. And I found that they're much more likely to be rude to someone who's not me. Like if it's me on the phone, they're probably not going to be, they're probably not going to take that tone with me. So it's actually pretty helpful that we have someone who's not like an owner of the company taking those first calls, because it's easier to kind of like spot, or if someone's going to show their true colors, they're going to do it with like maybe in that context. The second thing that we look for is if they are just adamant over and over and over about how much, how quick, they're typically not going to be a good fit for us, because in my experience that usually translates like once the project starts, then it's like, when do I get this, when this is ready, and it's just not a very collaborative relationship. And so we typically, if that kind of comes up in that first or second call, then it definitely gives us pause and makes us think about whether or not that's going to be a good fit for us. And then the third, which is usually if we see a no-go sign, this is what it is. Like sometimes we get clients that they don't understand the Shopify platform, and they don't understand the limitations of the Shopify platform. And so there's just a lot of education that needs to be done before we sign them as a client, because what happens is if they don't understand something about, the API call limit, that's always a big one, is that later on when we get into the project, if something doesn't go how they thought it would or what their expectations would, it's us that we get blamed. So a lot of times we'll actually kind of stop the sales process and work with them to kind of educate them on the Shopify platform, and that's usually us sending them things to read. But if none of those flags come up, then we'll typically just kind of move through the sales process. The other pain point, and I don't know if this happens for everyone, but it's huge for us. Like we would talk to people, have like a couple of different phone calls, exchange emails, talk about our pets, like really kind of forge some of these relationships, put together a proposal, which would take a good deal of time, and we would send it to them, and then we wouldn't hear anything. It'd be like crickets. And we'd send an email a couple of days later, hey, did you get this? And nothing. So this was happening a lot. So what we did was we really started to at least, I want to get to the point where we're doing that second call via video chat software, but we no longer send those proposals out. We'll review them during a call. And if a client won't take the time to really kind of go over the proposal with us during a call, chances are that they're not going to hire us. So like that's a pretty easy way for kind of figuring out who's truly interested in hiring us and who's not. So there's definitely areas to improve, and like areas that we really want to kind of, places we want to improve our sales funnel in. The first thing that I really want to do is I want to implement an onboarding series that's triggered when that first email request for a meeting is sent. That kind of just starts them slowly down this road, learning not only about our company, but also about Shopify and about the services that we offer. The logic behind that is I really want them educated before they even talk to us on the phone. So that's something that we're working on now. We're most likely going to continue to use ActiveCampaign for that. We might, yeah. So the next one, which is a really interesting one, is we're going to return to a package approach for more streamlined sales process. So when I first started back in 2012, I had a package approach where it was like three tiers of service. You pick one, that's fine. Over the years, we started getting more and more custom requests and just kind of moved to this place where we do all of our proposals custom. And it takes a lot of time. It's an hour to 2 hours like per client, like in terms of time investment. So we're actually starting to move back to that productized approach because it's so much, I think it's going to be so much easier for us. I don't know if we're going to get to the point where we're actually putting the prices on the website, but I think that there's a lot of value in kind of just showing someone a price and everything that's included and letting them know that everyone's seeing that, or most people are seeing that. So those are the next steps that I have planned for the sales process. Yeah, it looks like I'm finishing a little bit early, which just means more time for questions and Q&A. Hopefully I tried to pick a topic that I thought partners that are new, partners that have been around for a while, something that would kind of be something we all maybe not struggle with, but something that we all deal with kind of in our day-to-day of running our businesses. And the sales process for me in particular has always been a tricky one. Yeah.
Natasha.